Five, four, three, two, one. How's it going, everyone? This is Frank Cavone, and we are live from the office. Thank you again for tuning in to Kind of Live, Kind of Living from the office, presented by Mirth Films. As all of you can know, you can listen to the Kind of Live, Kind of Living podcast and From the Office on SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify. You can watch it live right on YouTube like you're watching it right now, and even see the Facebook premieres right on Facebook. I'm here with my man, Danny Taylor.
Hey.
How you doing, Danny?
Good, how are you?
Good. It's great
nice.
to see you again, man. We've been working a lot together closely on the Palace sessions with a lot of great people, and I'm so happy to be working with you and getting to know you because of just your history, everything you've done for the Palace, everything that you do with Greg Bell, and just everything you do for the city of Albany. Thank you so much for everything you do, man.
Thank you, man. Like I was telling you before we started, you coming in with us and working with these Palace sessions over the course of the last 6 months have been the highlight of my pandemic.
Thanks, man. I that means a lot. You saying that to me, because to me, I feel like the guy who's, the new guy on to the team who's just learning about how everybody works together and just what makes the Palace so special. And I mean, you've been there. Now correct me if I'm wrong. How long have you been there for?
I started back in 2012 full time as the production manager. So about eight and a half years now. I've been working here full time.
That's awesome. And prior to that, you were even doing stuff involved with music for a long time.
Yeah. I actually started working at the Palace back in like 2010 as a runner, and my music career, I would like to say, started back in 2006 at the Revolution Hall in Troy. It was a live music venue, standing room only, about 800 seats.
Yeah.
It was
beautiful venue.
Yes, great shows came through there.
Really, I can't wait to hear about just some of the things that you and Greg have worked together on, and especially at Rev Hall, because I've heard some crazy stories come from there.
Yeah.
So just before we deep dive into Danny's career, I just want to catch up everybody with the Palace Sessions. For those who don't know what the Palace Sessions are, they are monthly online fundraisers with live music to help keep the doors open at the Palace. And this is something that started in July?
Yeah. It was a meeting with the city of Albany. Shouts out to Keith and Ryan from the city of Albany Special Events division. They've been wonderful to work with. They came up with this plan to sponsor some recordings of local bands and try to help the Palace Theater raise money, since we've been so helpful and we've worked together in the past, and it has just been a tremendous experience to be a part of. Honestly, we really appreciate the love that we've gotten from the city of Albany and you guys as well.
Now, would you say that you guys are definitely seeing just a boost in community support from these Palace sessions?
We have been seeing a boost, but we could use as much. A lot of people don't realize the Palace Theater is mandated by law to be closed, and we have been closed since March 12th. So that's a long time to go without having income when you're usually having, on average, 184 shows a year to 200 shows a year, to go back down to zero. So we're really in a precarious position to try to keep the doors open and still give relevance. Like over the summer, in addition to the Palace Sessions, we joined with the Bright Side Up and the food pantries of the Capital Region to do giveaways, food giveaways on Tuesdays. I think we did it like 9 weeks in a row. It went really well. So we partner with the United Way to help them do some fundraising with our marquee. We've been trying to to just push the community agenda right now, because we know that's what it needs. But the Palace needs help as well.
And if you would like to help the Palace, head to palacealbany.org and click the donate button. And literally any dollar helps, any dollar amount. Just keeping those doors open and preserving the history and everything that has happened inside that building over the past almost 100 years, right?
Yeah, I think we're coming up on 90 years.
90 years.
Yeah. So.
And it's a historic place. If you've never been to the Palace, it's got to be one of the most beautiful venues I've ever seen. And maybe I'm a little biased just from being from the area, but just the architecture, the upkeep that you guys do to make sure everything looks nice and polished. It's a beautiful place, and it's a place where you can go with your family to go see a show, and it's not just rock concerts. You guys have had so many different types of events there at Albany Symphony Orchestra. There's just so much that goes on at the Palace, and with these Palace sessions, it's just something that really, I don't know. We're just trying to make sure that people know that we need the help too. Now with the Palace sessions. First band kicking it off. And this is something I didn't get to talk to Keith about, but just breaking down the 4 shows that we've had so far. Whirl Day.
I love Whirly Day. Those are my favorite guys. We actually had them play for our Christmas party last year.
Oh, really?
At the Palace Theater. They're such a great band and fun. And I love Justin. He's a talented musician.
Very talented. Yeah.
If I see he's playing somewhere in the summer, back when we could be out and about, I'd literally beeline to the space, whether it was in Troy or wherever, because he's such a talent. So he gets right into it. And that was a phenomenal show. I thought they did really well. I love that band as well.
They definitely did really well. They played an amazing set of music. You can go check it out on the Palace Theater YouTube channel right now if you wanted to. And then it just and with that first Palace sessions, one of the concepts was let's do these performances in a different place each time. Do you have any influence on how that happens, or?
Yeah, I picked everyone.
You picked them all, great.
It just we were trying to try different things. We some of them we bit off a little more than we thought we could, but we pulled it off. And I think our precision in execution was flawless in the end when it came to everything coming together.
Absolutely, and that first performance was right. And the I don't know what you would call the upstairs, the mezzanine, and the upstairs, and it was a cool place to do it. Moving on to the second one, Eastbound Jesus, a band that is near and dear to you.
Yeah, I love those guys.
Played right in the lobby.
Played Eastbound. We played Eastbound in the lobby. They really did an amazing job. Their performance was amazing. We really did enjoy that one, and the donation showed from the amount of the reception that we got from that one. It was a really hit. Great job on the film quality, the angles, like they sounded amazing. It was such a treat to sit there and watch it. I've watched it 3,000 times.
It was a great show, and what helps even more with especially that one, all those guys are some of the most incredible guys that walk the face of this earth, and just they're down to earth. They're super talented. You can approach them and talk to them about anything, and I gotta agree with you. It was one of my favorites so far too, because I don't know. I didn't even know at the time, but there was this one side which happened to be called Grappling Greg. I was like, damn, this is literally Greg's life story in a song.
You didn't know that was Grappling Greg's? They had a song for it?
I didn't know. I was like, listen.
Did you go to Eastbound Throwdown last year?
I didn't go last year. I went 2 years ago.
Okay, so the song came out the year before last. So you missed.
Oh, it premiered at. They
premiered it there. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Nice, man. I had no idea. I didn't even know when we were shooting, because when I'm shooting, I'm so focused
Yep.
that I don't even really listen to the music. I'm kind of just following who's playing the lead at that time, because when I'm shooting, I'm the guy who's on the gimbal.
Yeah.
I had help from Kim Neaton that day, which made things so much easier, because an 7-piece band, it was like,
Shouts
how
out
the
to
hell
Kim Neaton.
yeah, shout out to Kim.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's like sometimes, from my perspective, it's like when like working with a band like Whirl a Day, 3 people, compared to working with a band like, Eastbound Jesus. It's like,
I think it was a little more spread out. So on your end, it was a little more challenging, but the challenges you were up for them, and you knocked it out of the park.
thanks, man.
It was such a great experience to see it live, and then come back and get the premiere of it on YouTube and Facebook, and see the finished product. It was like,
I was really stressed about that one.
It was like the moment when we knew we made it. For real. So
that
good
makes
job.
me happy to hear. I especially with that one and Whirl a Day, and even maybe the next one we're about to talk about. I went away each one of those weekends after, so it was like I was under my own pressure of like getting stuff done, but I was like
on the deadline.
I was right at the line.
But you've never missed the deadline, and you've always delivered quality products. So you're able to squeeze those fun times for you on your personal level and still work. So great job on that work-life balance.
It's hard sometimes, because that's the thing. It's like, okay, I could just deep dive right into this video, but then at the same time, it's like when you go and you do a shoot, you're there for 12 hours and you need to decompress.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you need to, because like I'll get home and I'll have like 700 gigabytes worth of footage that I got to dump into my computer, and it's like I'm up till like 4 in the morning
just doing that,
just dumping the footage.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of work to do it, but the cool thing is, it's like when I'm editing this stuff, it's like I'm watching it back like I would be seeing it live and making these cuts, and it's like I'm watching the show. So like with Grappling Greg, it was like when I started listening to the lyrics about being in Long Island, following Bob and Jerry, I was like, oh my God. I can't talk about a project that I'm working on yet, but it was very relatable to what the song was about, and I was like, damn, I feel like I've heard this story before.
You heard the story, because I know what you're talking about, and then you got the theatrical version in the theater.
And that's what it was. It is a very theatrical version of Greg's life, I gotta say, and it's pretty marvelous too. And but that was just a great experience working with Eastbound Jesus. They have a really nice tie to the community here, and I mean they have a pretty big following too.
Yeah, they do have a really big following. Their music just sounds better and better every time. I'm really excited just to see their progression into the music scene, because they've been in it some time, and you can really see where they've grown when you look at their quality of work coming out now.
100%. Each album has its own just piece that really makes the band pretty dynamic.
Solid. Yeah, they got solid hits.
Solid hits for sure. And going into number 3, the Miko Brady Quartet with Vinny Amico from Mo. I don't know Brady's first name. Jason Brady, who is in Floodwood, and I forgot the other 2 fellas' names, but they performed on the marquee of the Palace, and that was a freaking cool one.
All right, so we kicked it up a notch for that one. I was really proud of our production team on just the whole 2 different spaces of recording in the one day, and outside with the different elements of the outside elements. That it was just such a top flight experience on that one, and they sounded amazing. Like,
they did. I wasn't necessarily a jazz guy, but once I could kind of hear what they were playing at the indoor part of the set, the second set that they did, I was like, wow, these guys are incredible. And shout out to Roger Sharp of High Peaks Event Production Company for making them sound so.
We love Roger. He's been part of our team during this Palace Sessions, helping us out on a number of these gigs, and he has been stepping up to the plate tremendously by donating time and equipment to make it work for the Palace, and just because he believes in our mission just as much, and we believe in his mission. He's doing so much. So please check out High Peak Sounds.
Go and check them out. They literally do so much great work inside and outside of music, big events. They have it dialed down. Those guys are geniuses. Roger, Christine, everybody who was employed for them, all amazing guys.
Yeah.
And that was the toughest shoot to me because I recorded the whole. Not only was there 5 cameras recording on the top of the marquee of the Palace, but there was the drone, which I had flying up in the sky for the 25 plus minutes, and it was just different because I usually when I'm going out and shooting drone, I'm going to look for a certain shot, this landscape, getting this whatever. If it's real estate, recording video of this real estate. So it's like I'm shooting 10 seconds worth of footage at a time. But when I'm for that one specifically, I had my drone up basically the whole battery length, and it was just, I don't know, it felt like so much was on the line because you can only get so many different angles. You got to worry about the sound of the drone,
and it's the one shot. So like that, but you nailed it, and it, like I said, the amount of complexity that we put into the third one was phenomenal. Like we used the drone that we were trying with from week 2, but we weren't able to make it work on our end for the band. Then we filmed on the roof, which is a feat in itself because you saw the path to get there was a feat in itself.
It was not easy at all. I mean, it's not like you could just walk upstairs to the marquee. You got to go through this little window. I mean, and I'm sitting here complaining, but the guy
with the band, he's got his bass.
Yeah, he had a huge upright bass trying to shove that through the window, and it was like, wow, I can't believe you got that through.
So the complexity to that show. And then to make that transition from being that complex outside to being back inside on the second balcony, which is work in itself when we didn't think that through, just the amount of stairs, because the Palace Theater, everybody who's been there knows that we still don't have an elevator. It doesn't exist. They didn't make those in 1931, so... anything you do upstairs, it's a trucking, and it was a big lift, but we accomplished everything that we set out to do that night, and it came out top notch.
It was great. Working with Vinny was especially really cool because it was like, I don't know, it was like the first time I got to work with him. He knew me by first name basis, and it's like, damn, that guy's my hero because just Mo is, I mean, so special to the city of Albany, and I mean, just all of New York State. But
yeah, they have a Mo Day. February 24th.
That's right.
Is Mo Day.
They got the key to
proclamation. They got the proclamation for Albany as May 24th to be officially Mo Day. The mayor came out a couple years back, and
yeah, that's right,
and gave with Greg. They gave that all out. It was phenomenal.
That was a really cool experience. At the time, I was just shooting for an outlet, and actually Greg and Kim reached out to me like, "Hey, you want to photograph the show?" I was like, "Sure, of course, I would love to." And they're like, "All right, well, you're gonna go up and photograph them on stage when they get the key." And I was like, "Oh shit," because like I have never been that close to them, and I was super. I don't know. They're like, to me, they're rocks. They are rock stars, and it's like when you look at Rob and he's just like standing all tall next to you, and you're like, holy shit, this guy, I worship him, and now I'm up here, and it's like, I don't know, the feeling of being on stage with Paul Satone at the same time was just also incredible because Paul's one of my favorite photographers
I
of
love
all
Paul.
time.
Paul's a nice guy as well.
He's from the Albany area too.
Yeah, I think he's from like Latham.
Latham or something. Yeah,
Yes.
and he's a Vegas guy, but that was just super cool having just that royal family in Albany, and jumping into the fourth one, Wild Adriatic.
All
That was my favorite one.
All right, that was
awesome.
That was my favorite one. It was a great look. I love the look, and they sounded great. They were playing to the cameras. They did an amazing job.
They did. And when you play to the cameras, it makes it so much more, I wouldn't say enjoyable for the viewer, but it just feels like you're with them. Because it's like when you got
Take
Rich
notes,
Nerdmeyer.
musicians. Take notes. He's giving you valuable information here.
Seriously, the thing is, it's like, okay, we're in this pandemic right now. You can't perform to a crowd. So for a musician to perform to the camera is the crowd. So it's like, okay.
You gotta transfer your energy back to the crowd in the camera, and that's
exactly it. And with them, those guys are. I've always looked at Wild Adriatic as a band that had great stage presence, and they do. It really showed in the video. And again, you can watch all 4 of these for free. 4 free sets of music right on the Palace Albany YouTube channel, which is awesome.
By the 4th one, I felt like we were pros. We got in and out with the rhythm. The rhythm was remarkable. Where it was just like I think it was not because they I think it was the shortest one because we did everything so efficiently that. We like got in early and we finished early because we literally had that rhythm down.
And that just shows how much planning that you guys do to make sure that day is a smooth day.
Well, I mean, you were there. Everybody put their work in. The fact of the matter is we know what our procedures are. We know how to do it safely. We have, I like to say we're pros at this now, after the 4th one. And hopefully we can get a couple more in there. We don't have anything announced yet, but I'm sure there's something coming down the pike pretty soon. There's gotta be,
yeah.
But we are dedicated to making this a thing while we prepare to reopen.
And it is just nice that it's like the space is being utilized and people are being put to work, and you get to feel like you were talking about, just feeling like just the feeling of doing something and being and helping out is just, I don't know, there's a lot of downtime right now, and that Palace Sessions created so much for other people like myself, and just being part, working with you, working with Ryan Murray, Keith Morales, Bill Blasco, Sean, Alan. I mean,
shouts out to Sean. He's our marketing director. He does amazing things. Check out all our social media feeds. He stays on top of that. He's on top of it.
Jesus.
He's got so many great facts. If you just look throughout the COVID time of when on our social media, he's posting so many great things about like Palace history, and it's stuff that you like, oh my god, I didn't know that, or like, you know what I mean? Like,
seriously, there's some I can't think of any, but like off the top of my head, but yeah, just like seeing those old concert tickets and be like, oh man, I wish I grew up in that era, you know? Right. It's like, right. So, but, and I originally knew Sean from applying for press passes. I'd email you know, whatever, I'm not going to say his email publicly, but I would email him and I'd be like, you know, excited to hear if I got the press pass or not. And now I get to work next to the guy.
So that excitement is the equivalent of when I'm booking the shows at the Palace and I'm sitting at my desk and you like get that press pass and you're like, yes, I got it. That's the same way I feel about every single show, whether it's a ballet, whether it's a hip hop show, whether it's a rock and roll show, whether it's a comedy show, whether it's freaking Sesame Street. Like it feels so good to like confirm. It's the adrenaline rush.
And I'm sure being able to like have that knowledge of what's going to happen and then seeing the public reaction, it's got to be somewhat fun.
Oh, it's amazing. I tried. This is a little downer story, but it just goes to show it works. I tried for 3 years to get further to play at the Palace Theater. 3 years. Like every time they would go, they would skip us and go to SPAC. Skip us, go to SPAC. And I would like reach out every time, like, "Hey, how you doing?" I just like a little chipmunk. "Hey, what's going on? It's good to see you. I just want to see if you want to come down this way. I got the picture with the promoters and try to get to him and trying to get to him." And finally, we confirmed for March this year, and then it canceled. But it was like you don't understand how much I jumped around in my office when it confirmed before all of this stuff, because of the fact that I put that work in for the 2 years of just straight. Every single time they're like, "Oh no, we're going to SPAC. We're going to SPAC," and I was like, "No, but I know you will do well here. People want you. I hear it. I know it. I know you'll do this.
Yeah.
That'll be a hit." and it when it finally comes, when you're giving that to someone, it is a remarkable feeling.
I can't imagine. Yeah, especially like I you playing a big part in that. Me, and then like from a fan's perspective, seeing Bob Weir and Wolf Bros announce, it's like, damn, they usually never hit the Albany market, and it's like because of people like you make that happen.
So the
it's
on
so
sale,
amazing.
The on sale was all the way up the street, up Clinton Ave, and around to Tenbrook. On the on sale, because people want to get in line to get their tickets because it's cheaper fees.
Yeah,
you can get better seats when you're right there, like so. But the line was like
out the door around the corner.
Out the door around the corner.
Jesus.
Which is that's how the Ghost in the Forest was as well, where it was just like around the corner, like you forget about those good times where you're like, "Yo, remember when that line was all the way down on Tenbrook?"
Wow.
Like that's a major deal.
That is a major deal, and I mean, that excitement. I just can't wait to have that feeling of, finding a place to park my car and seeing everybody, all of your friends that you haven't seen in a long time in the lobby at a concert, and you're like just chit-chatting before the show, and just all those pre-show rituals that you do before actually experiencing the concert. It's like, that's why you go for that.
Absolutely, and I think people are going to really take the appreciation on how a live music venue, performing arts spaces really do stimulate the economy around it, whether it's bars, restaurants, and stuff like that, hotel rooms, just the amount of people. Like when I say that line is all the way up and around the block just for the on sale. Well, the on sale's at 10 o'clock. Now they're downtown Albany. You just brought 1,200 people to downtown Albany on a weekday that they normally wouldn't come down there, but they're down there for their tickets. And then, so that's the one time that they hit downtown. And then next thing you know, you got the people coming from out of town and they're staying in the hotels.
Yeah.
You got the restaurants. Everybody goes out to eat before a show. They go to all the restaurants.
It really is a trickle-down effect.
It's tremendous, the amount of things. If downtown, like I'm excited. The news that Upstate Concert Hall is moving downtown to the old Capitol Rep building.
Yeah,
that's going to be put a tremendous impact on the amount of people downtown Albany on any given night. Because I remember working as a runner at Upstate Concert Hall back in my day, and I can tell you, even up until right now, before this pre-COVID, they were booked 6 or 7 nights a week with different genres of shows, whether it be grunge rock, regular rock, jam band, EDM. Their genres are
much different.
Yeah, it's so many different people.
Pop punk, hardcore, heavy metal,
hip hop. Like they hit every spectrum, and I really truly believe that's good for the area. Because anytime you can bring people together, it doesn't matter what their racial background is. It doesn't matter what where they came from, what their economic status is. It literally is the music. Live music is the thing that keeps people together. Honestly.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with you, and like you said, it's just because of the different genres and the size. I don't think there's going to be any overlap between the Palace, Upstate, or the Hollow. It's all going to be right there, and that is that is just thinking about that. It's like wow.
Because there's been times, just a couple years back. I mean, even last year, I would go to a show at the Times Union Center. Well, I would work my show at the Palace. It'd be like a comedy show or something. You work the comedy show, go to a show at the Times Union after. After that, the Hollow's open and they still have a show, and then you make your way to another show after that. That was a Saturday night, and it was amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where you're like, dude, I just hit like 5 shows today. Like and it was all different genres, all different music. Like I just want to go check out the live action. And like I said, you go to the one spot, you buy a beer. You go to the next spot, you might buy food. You go to the next spot, you're buying something else. You're literally stimulating the economy just by putting music on.
Yeah, people don't. I mean, it's just like this stuff is going on in downtown Albany when all this stuff gets back to normal and prior. It's just making it a point to get out and supporting the local
music scene. Yeah,
100%. So going back, we're gonna end all of this with what you do at the Palace, but let's get into what got you into the music scene in the first place. What was it that gave you your what was the door opening for you?
Jared Kingsley.
Who is Jared Kingsley? I don't know.
Jared Kingsley, he's the general manager at Ryan's Wake. He used to be the general manager at Revolution Hall. I answered an ad in the newspaper for my job at Revolution Hall.
Wow.
And so I answered the ad, and then he left a message on my answer machine to work at Revolution Hall. And I really liked what he said. He was just like, hey, I'm calling. My name's Jared Kingsley. I'm looking for some incredible individuals to be a part of this premier performing arts venue. And I was like, I could do that. and so at that point, I was like bartending for like 7 years already at a hotel bar, which is completely different than live music, fast-paced working environment bar.
Yeah.
It's not the same animal. But at the time, you don't really know. You're like, I got experience doing that. I can do that. So I like took the I took the interview, pulled up, met Jared Kingsley for the first time. Happened to know John Chiara. He was the owner at the time of Revolution Hall. I knew John Chiara because my cousins and uncles used to go to the studio with John Chiara on Central Ave 10 years before that. So it was fun to see him in there. And it's like, oh, this is your spot. And then with Jared Kingsley, I failed the bartending quiz miserably. Failed it. Because it was like, I was just nervous. He was like asking me questions. I was just like not ready for it. And I walked away like, I screwed that up. I totally screwed it up. Apparently they liked my vibe because he called me back and he was like, hey, all the bartender positions are taken, but we got some jobs here for security if you want to come and work. And I took that job, and I ended up securing the bar right next to the bar, being the security dude right next to the bar. And I just waited. I worked there, ended up working there for 6 years, and over the course of time, I would people would call in, and I would jump in and help, and immediately start pouring drinks and doing stuff to just help, go get ice, and because it's just Jared there freaking trying to bust his ass and serve everybody, and it's like, I can do this. And then finally they put me on, and I ended up being the bar manager when I left working there 7 years. And then that business got sold back to Brown's because apparently before John Chiera owned it, Brown's owned it for a while and they were doing shows before that, but they didn't want to be in the live music industry at that time. So we end up getting sold back to Brown's. They pretty much, everybody in the live music scene left, didn't even try to apply to be a worker. I think one or two security guards ended up going over. But then I applied and got the job and worked at Brown's for like a year. And then they fired me, but it was the best firing of my life because they didn't even give me a reason. They just wanted to be done. But then I ended up started working in the live music scene full time. I got a job at Live Nation, working at SPAC for a couple summers in a row. That was a great gig where I learned how to be that top level professional, because anybody coming in through SPAC, they're not rinky dink.
No, not by any means.
By any means at all. And so you just learn. And I started being a runner, going to pick up all their gear, picking people up from airports, just doing all random odd jobs. And I got the job at the Palace. I started doing that. I was in the process, I was working as a caterer, and I ended up getting my catering job, Touche Caterings, a job at the Palace by talking to the people that I know because I was working there as a runner.
And this is in 2012?
That was 2011.
2011, okay.
And before 2012 is when I started full time. But the catering thing was like, I got them a free lunch. So because I wanted them to try out the catering, because we eat catering all the time. These guys do food. They work at the country club. I know they got their standards are up to par for what the high level professionals that the Palace Theater was having. So it was like a match made in heaven. Those guys ended up doing business together. I, on the other hand, kept on asking the executive director at the time, every single time I saw him, it's, you're good when 5 people introduce you to the same person, and every single time they go to introduce you, they're like, "Oh, I know you. I do know you. Like, what are you doing back here?
Yeah.
Like, what are you back here?"
That must make it at least a little more, I don't know, I guess just comfortable for yourself too.
Yeah. And so every single time I would see him, I'd be like, "Hey, do you got any full-time jobs? I'm here, And so in 2012, a production manager position opened up. I scooped it up. And then from that point on, I just been scooping up positions as they leave the food and service. So I was working backstage production manager, advancing shows. That was my first job for the first 12 months or whatever. And then the food and beverage girl, she got another job. And so instead of hiring, I went to the executive director at the time, and I'm like, "Hey, I know how to do all that food and beverage stuff." I just came off a 10-year career of food and beverage, so it went hand in hand.
That's cool.
So then I just put that under my wing, and I was able to transform their line process tremendously by opening up multiple locations and just doing a couple streamlining techniques with the staff to make that streamline just off the experience from working at Rev Hall in that high pressure, fast paced environment. And it helped out the Palace tremendously over the course of these last 8 years. I never forget, it was March 3rd, I worked a Mo show as the runner and at the Palace Theater. And they literally, the line upstairs, the bar line was all the way around the corner, going into the theater, past the bathrooms,
oh my God,
for where the bar is upstairs,
yeah.
like inside the theater all the way around. And I knew that if you change that, everything else is magic. because at the end of the day, when people come to a live music venue, they don't want to wait in line at the bar. They don't want to know what's your favorite football team. They don't care if you know their favorite football team. It's a different animal than just a bartender, because some bars are just, it's a different slower speed,
Right.
Because people aren't there to go to the bar to drink. They're there to see the band.
Right.
And
they don't want to miss their favorite song.
Yeah, so they don't want. They got nothing to say to you, whether other than I want two of these and two of those, and that's it. You know what I mean? Like they want to be in and out and back to their seat within less than 3 minutes. And so we made it a goal to try to have like 3-minute lines, and then we executed that strategy flawlessly in order to increase revenue, and it helped tremendously to be able to bring more shows to the area.
So now, what would you say are some of your top few memories from so far working at the Palace, as far as like working with musicians specifically?
All right, so musicians specifically, I love working with Mo. They're a really good bunch of guys. Shouts out to Mo. They're always so down to earth. So that is a organic feel good every single time, no matter what. Whenever you're in their circumference, and they're not like other bands where they're not down to earth, where they talk to you normally,
right?
And you know what I mean. We can chat from just working with them for so long about how are the kids, and what's going on with your COVID freaking challenge. Like there's so that was a that's one, and then I got another one, is Dave Chappelle. I've told the story a number of times. So Dave Chappelle played at the Palace a couple years ago, and at the end of the night, he's like, hey, it's Sunday. He did 2 shows. He was late for the second show because he was waiting for Marlon Wayans to come from Funny Bone, because Marlon Wayans was performing at Funny Bone and he wanted Marlon Wayans to see his show. So we held up the second show so that Marlon Wayans could get there to see Dave Chappelle's show. So at the end, Marlon Wayans did his show. He was working. Dave Chappelle did his show. He was working. Now they're off of work and they're in town together. So they want guidance. They want to know, where could you go to drink and eat at midnight on a Sunday evening in Albany? And at the time, I mean, the best place I could think of for that type of atmosphere that they wanted was the Ruck. So I end up bringing them over to the Ruck.
You brought Dave Chappelle and Marlon Wayans to
Dave
the Ruck.
Chappelle, Marlon Wayans, and Ashley Larry to the Ruck.
Fuck.
I called Dave Gardell, the owner of the Ruck, to come down. I was like, yo, I got Dave Chappelle here. And he's like, I'll be right down. And so like now he's there, and it's so funny when a celebrity comes in, because everybody knows immediately, like, oh. So to the point where you're almost like, all right, guys, he wants to be done. Like, he wants to be done with that. Like, we're done. So eventually we end up playing Buck Hunter and Shuffleboard
with them.
Yes, and just shooting the shit. And then like we were sitting down. Dave Chappelle, Ashley Larry, Marlon Wayans are all telling your mama jokes. It was an incredible experience.
Was it easy to talk to Dave?
Yeah. I actually seen him again the next year at Radio City Music Hall, where I took a train down, and I went to go see his show at Radio City Music Hall, and he remembered me and everything from the show. Yeah. So,
oh my God, that must have felt special.
Yeah, it was great. And so that's one person that I always keep trying to reach back out to try to make his routing work. There's good artists that you're always they're booked out 3 and 4 years at a time. So you're always trying to just get on their radar.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, to make them at least think about your area, because there is a lot of music venues, because it does stimulate the economy in America. So at they could be anywhere in the world, playing, and you want to try to get them to at least come around every, 12 to 16, 18 months.
Oh my God, that must have been insane. Just being did you drive
Surreal.
them or?
It was surreal. No,
Or you just they followed you there?
they just followed me there. Dave, he had a car service. He knew he was going out. He got his car service to come, and then she literally showed up, and then she just sat outside and waited for him, and then they drove him back to a hotel, and I got to go home. I didn't have. There was no. It was like no pressure at all.
You were just hanging out at that point.
Yeah.
Damn, that's gotta be. I mean, and that all happened because you applied for a job through a newspaper from Jared Kingsley at Ref Hall.
Yeah.
And that just shows, like, just take every opportunity you can take, because for you that led to something way bigger down the line that you necessarily wouldn't have even thought could have happened prior to that.
I went in there looking for a job, and I walked out with a career. And that's basically, and I didn't even know what a career was at the time.
Yeah.
Because you know what I mean, like, so that's, and it's all about the opportunity. I feel like if you take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you, and you're able to recognize them, there is a possibility for you to succeed.
Definitely. And it's better than doing nothing.
Oh, listen, I used to get made fun of for picking up the band's laundry from some of my friends back in the days, because they was like, you gotta go, you're like a gopher. And I was like, yeah, but I spend thousands of dollars, and you don't even understand the help I am to them, to the point where, like Mo, for instance, I've been working with them since 2009 or 10 or somewhere in that area. And I started working with them at the Armory as a runner. And from that point on, every single show, because I was so enthusiastic about my job and so ready to just do whatever it takes to get their tasks done, because they got tasks, and sometimes they need help with those tasks.
Yeah.
And they called me every year, no matter what venue they were working at. And then they eventually started bringing me out to music festivals to work their music festival called Summer Camp. And I did that about 6 or 7 times.
Which is a hell of a time, I'm sure. I mean,
it was
out in Chillicothe.
Chillicothe.
Okay.
Chillicothe. At the Three Sisters Park.
Damn.
It's
Illinois, right?
Illinois. It's so intense. I think it's like between 15,000 and 20,000 people on average. There's probably 65 different bands throughout the 4-day weekend with 7 to 10 different stages of just pure goodness. Like everything, you can take a summer camp book that in your venue through the whole year, throughout the year, and literally be set every time for your show caps and what you need to get over, because they really do a tremendous job picking the talent and making sure that everything is professional. It's the first time we used the RD, the chip readers where they're on your bracelets. It's this like top flight.
Definitely is, for sure. I've always wanted to go, and every act that's on the bill all the time, from small to big, or just it's strategized and picked perfectly each and every year. Now, final question. Well, how did you get involved with Greg Bell?
I met Greg Bell at Revolution Hall back in 2006. He would do shows there, and every time Greg Bell would do a show and I was a bartender, I literally would make $500, and he would be the guy at the end of the bar drinking Budweiser, and you knew it was his show, but every time you saw him, you knew you were going to do well. And You did every single time. And he's just been a mentor to me. Towards the end of Rev Hall, Greg was doing the last show there, and I didn't want to leave the scene because I really did over that course of 7 years develop a love and passion for that scene. And so I went up to Greg Bell and I said, hey man, and I'm the one always giving him his beer every time. He knows who I am. I introduce myself again and I'm like, I really love what you do. Can you show me how to do what you do? And his lovable personality was like, you want me to show you how to lose money? Because that's all I'm ever doing. But at the end of the day, he ended up giving me a flyer gig to pass out flyers for gym class heroes at the Armory.
Oh,
and
wow, okay.
And I started passing out flyers and doing anything he needed me to do. So I went from passing out flyers to help settle shows to work his Bellstock Music Festival, work the gates at his Bellstock Music Festival, coordinating the bands coming in and out. It was he's literally put me to work in the industry, and he's just someone great to have on your team. And all the local bands, the amount of the impact that Greg Bell has that's put on the capital region, I don't think it can be bet by anyone else.
No, absolutely not. I mean, I didn't know Greg at first, and then after going to the shows, going to his shows specifically, getting to know him, and I didn't, it wasn't until I would say in the past couple of years, it was like, wow, this guy really is the reason why there is a heartbeat in this music scene for sure. And
he just has an ear for it.
He does. He does have an ear for it. He knows true talent. He knows who's working their ass off and who isn't. He provides opportunities for the people who deserve them, and he gets people involved. And I mean, and especially now with him being a manager for Eastbound over the past few years, like goddamn, I mean, there is no wonder there's a song called Grappling Greg, because he is Grappling Greg. That guy has no stop.
No, not at all.
At all. And I hope that there's someday there's some way we could, hear all the stories, but it's just great to get your perspective on how much of an amazing human being he is, and because he does affect everybody. Even if he's not directly doing anything for you, if you're going to see the Magic Beans on a Thursday night in Albany, he brought him there.
And the fact that all those people just went out to get dinner, and all
at the supper club.
And yeah, and like that's what I mean. Where he's his own economic stimulus package for the town. There's been so many times where he's got people problems. I remember working at Rev Hall. We used to have problems with some of the shows where the restaurants would be upset that the line was so long that people couldn't get into their restaurant, but those people are eating at their restaurant too. You know what I mean? So like, and those are good problems to have when you're like, I got so many people, I don't even know where to put them. And he knows how to pack a room.
Definitely knows how to pack a room for sure. Now, before we go, is there anything you want to plug, Danny? I know you have a company that you're in charge of, and I know I'd love to hear more about it.
Yeah, so me and my brother, we started a management company. It's called Building Blocks Management. We just, between the two of us, we have a bunch of out-of-town gigs, working music festivals and doing all types of fun production stuff. And so we put this company together to just help staff, those type of things where people need merch, people need whoever needs staff, and it helps because we streamline the process so that when people come in, they're able to talk to one person, but you can still get 15 people if that's the space that you need. We also we sell t-shirts on highlinemerch.com. That's another part of the business. We're just focusing on between merchandise, production, all that whole music scene that we've been in and experienced since 2006.
Well, it's really cool that you're bringing the roots that you've experienced since the early 2000s into something that is now something you get to call your own, and that's awesome, man. Please go check out Building Blocks Management. Where can people find the company?
It's Building Blocks Management on highlinemerch.com.
Go and check them out. We'll make sure we get the link too, and make sure if you got the extra cash, donate to the Palace Theater. And
Absolutely.
Just stay tuned on what else is to come, because I'm just excited that there is stuff going on, and it is a nice way to break up this whole pandemic for sure. This has been great talking to you, Danny, and it's just great to get to know you more, because sometimes when we're in the motion, working and stress, this that, it's like you don't get to just sit down and talk. So it's like, and especially when you do, it's like you're thinking about a million things that when you're eating your slice of pizza on your break at the Palace. It's like,
right.
Shit, I can't even think right now and enjoy a conversation with you. And I just thank you so much for coming on. This has been From the Office. Again, you can listen to it on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud. Watch it on our Facebook premiere, and watch it live on YouTube like you are right now. We have many episodes to come. On Thursday at 10 a.m. we have Brad Hester of Annie in the Water, and next week we have special guest Donald Hyman. Thank you again.
Shout out to Donald.
Shout out to Donald, one of the nicest guys in the world.
Annie in the Water from Brad.
Yeah, Annie in the Water from Brad. And please subscribe to the channel, because you get notified when we're going live if we don't announce something right away, and it really does help us more than anything. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to episode 4, and we will be back